have. Good challenge to have.
Yes. Yes,
A lot of
unfortunately.
challenge.
It's 21.
Hare Krishna. We're live, Sadhita.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. Our glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our beloved speaker for today, His Grace JIVA TATTVA Prabhu, who needs no introduction. And all glories to the assembled Vaishnavi devotees. We thank you all for being here as always. Today is Friday, the 3rd day of July, 2026. It's very hot in the US here. I don't know. Tomorrow is Independence Day. We'll see how that goes. But rain or shine, Srimad Bhagavatam goes on. And we are very much privileged. We have His Grace Jiva TATTVA, who will be speaking to us from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think we have only one verse to cover today, right? Verse 4. So, Hare Krishna, you take it over from here, and after Mangalacharam, or put the verse on the screen. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Are we turning the recording on?
Yes.
Okay. Should we wait?
No, you can start.
Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining for this session today. Please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiryet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantastho Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we'll be covering Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 21, Verse 4. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, do you want me to share, or are we sharing the verse? Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.21.4. Tasyam save mahayogi yuktayam yoga lakshanehe sasarja kathida viryam tanme shushushave vada. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. How many offspring did the great yogi beget through the princess, who was endowed with eightfold perfection in the yoga principles? Oh, pray tell me this, for I am eager to hear it. Purport. Here Vidur inquired about Kardama Muni and his wife Devahuti and about their children. It is described here that Devahuti was very much advanced in the performance of eightfold yoga. The 8 divisions of yoga performance are described as 1. Control the senses. 2. Strict following of the rules and regulations. 3. Practice of the different sitting postures. 4. Control of the breath. 5. Withdrawing the senses from sense objects. 6. Concentration of the mind. 7 is meditation, and 8 is self-realization. After self-realization, there are 8 further perfectional stages which are called Yoga Siddhis. The husband and wife, Kardama and Devahuti, were advanced in yoga practice. The husband was a Mahayogi, great mystic, and the wife was a Yoga Lakshana, or one advanced in yoga. They united and produced children. Formerly, after making their lives perfect, great sages and saintly persons used to beget children. Otherwise, they strictly observe the rules and regulations of celibacy. Brahmacharya, following the rules and regulations of celibacy, is required for perfection of self-realization and mystic power. There is no recommendation in the Vedic scriptures that one can go on enjoying material sense gratification at one's whims as one likes and at the same time become a great meditator by paying a rascal some money. Hare Krishna. Please join us to chant Srila Prabhupada and seek blessings from the Acharyas. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande shigrum dinatarinam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So what an interesting pastime this inquiry is related to. So we all are acting on a daily basis. We are all carrying out various kind of actions, and we should be reflecting back as what are we generating, what are we producing, right? Every one of us is generating something. Parents, they generate a family because the purpose of marriage is to beget a son. So everything in life has a purpose. Leaders, they generate a culture that enables all the followers to be able to cultivate themselves to become the future leaders. Teachers, they generate understanding so that the students understand the subject matter and become scholars in their respective fields. Preachers generate spiritual interest so that people take to spiritual, Krishna consciousness and become devotees in serving Krishna and become preachers in their own turn. Srila Prabhupada said that a Brahmana's responsibility is to produce more Brahmanas. It doesn't mean that they have to give birth to more children who they will make Brahmanas. It's referring to that they should be preaching heavily so that others take to the Brahmanical culture. Temple communities, they generate purpose. They help us. The purpose of life is known, but the temples are there to generate that enthusiasm related to the purpose of life. What is perfection of life? Now, professionals, they generate projects, initiatives, right? So that the profession may be recognized sometimes in a competitive mood, but mostly in the collaborative mode in spiritual world. So in the spiritual perspective, we're always looking for collaboration, communication, and confirmation in compliance with the Sadhguru and Shastra. And senior devotees, they generate examples, and that younger devotees may follow. That's why senior devotees are sometimes referred to as Acharya, those who lead by examples. And yet Srimad Bhagavatam asks us to pause before asking, what am I producing or what are we producing? Right? What is Srimad Bhagavatam really asking? And this is inquiry from Vidur, who's making this inquiry, presenting his inquiry to Maitreya Muni. And when we reflect back on this particular verse, it looks on the surface a very simple material talk, right? Vidur himself was a family man. He heard in the 12th chapter how Kardama was born from the shadow of Lord Brahma, how Devahuti was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, how Priyavrata and Uttanpad were carrying out the administration on behalf of Swayambhuva Manu of this universe, not of just heavenly planets or lower planets, the whole universe, everything in it. And it looks like he's making just a generic inquiry. But then in that inquiry, he has hidden some gems, some important life lessons for us to take. And from the surface, it appears that Vidur is asking this inquiry, like, I'm a married man, and then I want to know about another married man and his wife, because I had a wife. Let's reflect back as to the lineage of Vidur himself. His lineage is not a simple lineage because his biological father is Srila Vyasdev, Krishna Dvaipanya Vyasdev himself, the literal incarnation of the Lord. Sometimes referred to as Shaktavishavtar, yes. Then his mother was a Shudra maid servant of the Ambika, one of the queens of Vichitravirya. And so he was born of a Shudra wife, a Shudra mother, and his father was Vyasdev. So understanding, and he was also a disciple, a great disciple of Brihaspati. Hare Krishna. As Sahadev Prabhu said, it is very hot today. And we were at Baltimore Temple, doing services. So here it is very nicely described that Bhishma himself felt that Vidur should have a qualified wife. So his wife was the daughter of Devaka. Some of them you may get shocked because Devaka was also the father of Devaki, Vasudev's wife, mother of Vasudeva Krishna. So yes, Devaka was the father, the king Devak, who actually had a daughter from a Shudra wife. So he had one wife who was from the Shudra class, and he had a daughter from her. That daughter was married to Vidur. And so his guest Vidur was none other than Yamraj, right? We talked about this in the past, that he was cursed by, the Muni. I'm trying to think of the name, but anyway. And so he appeared as Shudra, and his wife was also born of a Shudra queen of King Devaka, who was a Kshatriya. So the marriage is anulom, not pratilom. Husband and wife are of the same quality. So here it is very interesting that he is saying that Kadama Muni was a Mahayogi, his wife Devahuti was also yogini, and they were perfectly matched on those grounds. And so I want to hear about their offsprings. Now Vidur himself had many sons. Why does he want to hear about the offsprings? That may be a question somebody could raise. Well, he is actually telling us that every time we take on an initiative, there is a lot more happens before the initiative is undertaken. And that's what is the focus today of this, depth-wise. We're going deeper into the scriptures as they are revealing the mind of Vidura. Vidwan Vidur, we are referring to. After the conversation, he is referred to as Mahatma Vidur. So when a leader creates an institution without governing personal ambition, the ambition may enter the institution, right? So we have to be very clear that when we are listening to this person, we shouldn't be thinking of Vidur as a family man, just a common family man. We should understand his position as a great scholar, younger brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu, of disciple, who's really following a Maitreya Muni's, Shiksha disciple. And so he's revealing some facts that are going to tell us that, when he's even asking a question, it has much greater depth. Just like a leader, when a leader creates an institution or governs an institution, but he has not taken care of his personal ambition, those ambitions would reflect the way he governs that institution. When parents have not regulated themselves to curb anger, expectation, and attachments, the children will, of course, inherit those traits. And when devotees, they begin projects from competition rather than cooperation, the projects may externally appear devotional, but internally they're reproducing what? Rivalry. And that we see on a daily basis. We don't have to go far. We can look at our own home and we can see things that are cluttered with different ambitions that needs clearance, that needs cleansing. So before telling us about the children of Kardamuni and Devahuti, this verse tells us much more. It tells us about the spiritual condition of the parents. Because in the very inquiry, Vidwan Vidur has revealed what? That Kardamuni is being referred to as a Mahayogi, a great mystic yogi. And Devahuti, how is she described? As a Yuktayam Yoga Lakshana, endowed with the characteristics of yogic perfection. So Srila Prabhupada, reveals in his purport that yes, there are 8 Ashtanga Yoga, there are 8 angs, 8 limbs of yoga, starting with Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, finally Samadhi. But then after that comes 8 levels of mystic powers. And she was fully endowed with those mystic powers. Sometimes people, they just focus so much on Ashtanga Yoga. They forget that actually Ashtanga Yoga is just preparing the tree, but it has not given the fruits. It has not been the fruits. So we have to actually experience what those fruits are. And that's why Ashtanga Yoga is such a difficult process. And 12.5 Bhagavad Gita verse actually reveals a great secret about Ashtanga Yoga and even Jnana Yoga. Kleshyodik tarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukham dehuvid bhirvyapyate. For the embodied beings, it is very difficult to meditate on the unembodied. Lord is appearing as super soul, if yogis are thinking, and we cannot see him. Yes, he is there in our heart, and our heart is within us as living entities. So he's the smallest of the smallest. We are 10,000 of the tip of the hair, not the width of the hair, my dear devotees, tip of the hair. And even that living entity that we are, such a small one, Lord becomes even smaller to enter our heart. Not the heart of this material body, but the heart of the every living entity, scriptures say. And yes, at the same time, it is said that this is the size, right? And people get confused. How can such a Lord be having this size? Well, he's inconceivable. There is a reason he's called inconceivable, that we cannot understand how such of a given size can be smaller than the very smallest living entity. So, my dear devotees, in this particular verse, there's some important aspects. Like Bhagavatam is introducing us to their qualification before their contribution. Whose qualification? Kardama Muni's qualification and Devahuti's qualification. And their discipline before their descendants are described, and their consciousness before the creation of their family. So today we'll be looking at this particular verse using the acronym YOGI, Y-O-G-I. So the first lesson for life is, and we know about the 26 characteristics of a devotee. I have tried to culminate all of them, that if you collect them in this particular format of 4 items, you will actually be endowed with these 26 qualities as being talked about in the Shastras. Only then you can come to this level. Why is to yearn to hear. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Remember, Shravanam is the first process in devotional service of the 9 processes. Sometimes we see that the easiest one is the first, but this is also the most important one, is the first. Right? Think of it this way, that Shravanam is how we are taking care of the seed of bhakti. Pramar bhavite kaun bhagyavana jiva Guru Krishna prasade paya bhakti lata bij. So it is revealed, Chaitanya Charitamrita discusses this verse at length, that we are wandering in this material world. But by the mercy of Guru, and Krishna is Chaitya Guru, the Guru in our heart, we get the seed of bhakti. It's not that the bhakti is something that we are getting, we're always having it, but it's fanned through the process. And Shravanam is the most important part of that process. So when Vidu says, Tanme Shushu Shave Vada, please tell me, for I'm eager to hear. He's not eager to hear how this man and woman are meeting and then producing various children. No, it's not in a material perspective at all. He's looking at the spiritual maturity, which is actually measured only by what we know, but by whether we remain eager to receive and change. And he's giving that hint that Kadama Muni is a great yogi, his wife, Devahuti is a great yogini. Now, we'll be diving deeper into each of those aspects, but I do want to give you the acronym because sometimes we run out of time. O is to order life around divine instruction. Yes, we have received the instructions, we have heard the instruction. And what was the instruction Kadama has received? He had received the instruction from his father, Lord Brahma, to beget children, right? So Brahma's instruction was there. And he had to purify himself before he carries out instructions. So when we are given something to do, sometimes we just carry it out whimsically. And it fires back. Believe me, many times I have seen that happen because many times, eager to serve, we forget to think. Srila Prabhupada, once he opened Bhagavad Gita and the pages just, fell apart. This was in the very early stages when the devotees were trying to print and bind Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Prabhupada said, what do we need for this to be, good quality? So the devotees were saying, Srila Prabhupada, we are so fallen. First, they were lamenting that such a thing has happened right in front of the spiritual master. When he opened Bhagavad Gita, it just fell apart. All the pages came loose. They're like, Srila Prabhupada, we are so fallen. Please forgive us. Srila Prabhupada again repeated, what do we need? He's like, oh, we need Sadhu Kripa, we need Guru Kripa, we need Krishna Kripa. So many Kripas we are getting. Srila Prabhupada still asked, what do we need? And then Srila Prabhupada, realizing that they were at loss of words, he said, intelligence. So we should think before, look before you leap. So think before we act. And that's why and the interesting thing is, these lectures of Srila Prabhupada seems like sometimes materialists are hearing it more attentively than the devotees are hearing it. Because they come up with this amazing literature that talks about we shouldn't be reacting, we should be responding. And now we devotees here like, this looks familiar. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada said that much earlier, before these, many of the materialists wrote it in their works. So Srila Prabhupada already talked about this, that we have to use our intelligence, preparation, planning, and all these have to be around a given strategy. And believe me, my dear devotees, plan is not a strategy. And that's what we end up doing. Without even planning, sometimes we just act. And acting is definitely not the strategy. That is a perfect mismanagement of the resources. So we should be very careful in using resources in Krishna's service. Which actually reminds me of a beautiful scenario that once happened. So we were in a Bhagavatam class, and I was conversing with another devotee. He was very senior, and he was saying, I know this lecture from start to end. I must have heard this 20 times. So my response was, wow, this lecture was on tolerance and humility. Srila Prabhupada was telling about how we have to be tolerant. He was elaborating that verse. So it must have made you 20 times more tolerant and 20 times more humble. It's like, no, that's not the point. I know the verse. I know all the verses related to this lecture. I said, but did it make you more tolerant? And his response was, you're missing the point. I know the lecture from front to end. I said, I understood that you have listened it from front to end. Then he reflected back on it after pausing as to when I'm asking something. And he said, that's an important point. Let's meditate on this. Why am I hearing it 20 times and still not able to grasp it, bring it to my life? Is because it's a treatment going on and the symptoms keep appearing in my heart again and again. And Krishna is asking me to hear the lecture again and again, hoping that I will get it one time. And he said that this time he got it. And when that realization he shared with me, of course, one of the Preeti Lakshanam is to share, one's heart in secrecy, So in confidence. And he was sharing his heart in confidence. And my dear devotees, this is one of the hardest thing to do. Yet at the same time, we became very dear to each other, so much so that we are dance partners. Sometimes we just dance together when we are, in the temple and the kirtan is going on. So things are supposed to bring us close. Inquiries are there to help us, get closer to each other. So we have to order our life around divine instructions. So Kardama, Sage Kardama, he accepted Brahma's instructions. But before acting on it, Lord Brahma said, produce children, increase progeny. He didn't just go out and whimsically married anyone. He first purified himself. He was a great yogi. He meditated on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Vishnu appeared on Garuna, standing on Garud, and blessed him that he will have 9 wonderful daughters and they will further increase the progeny in this universe. But the beauty of his devotion is the fact that Lord wanted to also become his son. That is the beauty. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about that, yes, everybody wants to go and see Krishna, but we should perform bhakti with so much devotion, so much surrender, so much enthusiasm, so much patience, and so much in anukulena, as Krishna wants, that Krishna would want to come and see us. And that's what is happening, my dear devotees. It's not a mythology. This happened in reality. That Lord said, after those 9 daughters, I would be born as your son. And Lord always has those 3 purposes. Paritranaya sadhanam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma sansthapanataya sambhavami yoge yoge. So he is appearing as Kapil Dev. And he is establishing the principles of religion by giving Sankhya Yoga, analytical aspects of devotion. So again, when Lord is appearing as Kapil Dev, now sometimes people get confused. He is also referred to as one of the Mahajanas. Mahajanas because he knows the subject inside out. Vedeshaham. Again, so Lord is saying that I am the cause of Vedas. Sarvasachaham sadehin Hridaya sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo vedant kridved vid eva chaham. So Lord in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 talks about that he provides us intelligence, remembrance, and forgetfulness as well. He's present in every living entity's heart, and he knows the Vedas. He's the giver of the Vedas, and the purpose of the Vedas is to know him. And so when he gives this Sankhya Yoga philosophy, he is preaching to his mother. My dear devotees, raise your hand if you are really learning from your children. Of course. Many times our children have such a good touch to reality that they help us connect with the world around us. And many times they have so much spirituality that they help us connect with Krishna more. And it is very interesting that, when our children and the younger generation, sometimes we refer to as millennials and what are the current ones called? What are the current generation called? Like the 20s?
Gen Z, Prabhu.
Yeah, Gen Z. Thank you so much, Mr. Mataji. So yes, Gen Zs, when they help us reveal something to us, it helps us realize that these are mature generation and the future is bright because they are sharing that brightness with us. And that is the sweetness that here Kapil Dev is the son and he is delivering his mother with that light of Sankhya Yoga. So G is for govern before generating. So we have to go deeper into ourselves to see, because Kadama Muni was a Mahayogi, Devhuti possessed Yoga Lakshana. She actually possessed all 8 mystic powers. Not just she was a yogini, but she actually had completed that stream. But before generating children, and similarly, sometimes we do various activities, like projects, we influence others, or we engage in institutional efforts, or they focused on governing the senses, mind, and motives. They purified themselves. So this govern before generating is very important to purify ourselves, to qualify ourselves to be able to perform with pure consciousness is a very great quality to have. Now you must be thinking that what is I is standing for? Any ideas? Because I is the last word letter, and I is as a word should never be spoken because it's what false ego represents. I am so and so, right? Reflecting to this body, which is produced of envy. So I is to invite the Lord into every ashram. Now, my dear devotees, this is also very important. Lord Kapil Dev appeared in their family and he instructed his mother Devahuti. A home or institution becomes spiritual when the Lord is its center. Lord is its beneficiary, and Lord is the ultimate teacher, the ultimate acharya. Now, when we look at from this perspective, it really becomes much deeper for us that everything should be centered around Krishna. So when we talk about home, and it's very interesting that there was a time, even in our institution, in our society, that brahmacharis were highly encouraged. People were highly encouraged to take to brahmacharya. And the brahmacharis were looking at the grihasthas, the people in married life, and saying, you guys are in Maya. These people who are married in Maya, not realizing that if their parents had not married, they wouldn't have been born. They wouldn't have received the gift of human life. So it's very interesting that sometimes one ashram may think that they are in a perfect state and may downplay another ashram. In reality, Lord has placed all ashrams on equal platform, believe it or not, because all four varnas can appear in any of those four ashrams. And here we are talking about Mahatma Vidur, who is referred to as a Shudra, and he's Mahatma, greater than any of the sannyasis, many of the sannyasis of his time. So here, his qualification is compared to almost to be equal to his father Vyasdev. Now, sometimes people get surprised. Why? Because he actually delivered Dhritarashtra. Where Vyasdev could not deliver Dhritarashtra with so many instructions, with so many chastisements and so many insights. He could not deliver Dhritarashtra. But Vidura was instrumental in delivering Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, his blind brother and his wife. So, mighty devotees, we have to understand that every ashram has its place. And the Varna ashram process has been established by the Lord himself. And Lord would not establish anything that doesn't have purpose. Which reminds me, once Srila Prabhupada, he was visiting London at one of the host's home, and there was a beautiful garden. And so he was walking through the garden, and he pointed to some things, like, what is that? The gardener said, it is weed. Srila Prabhupada didn't understand weed because he had heard weed from his disciples as one of the drugs. So he didn't say much. But then afterward, he was his disciples, he asked, he said, that thing is weed. Is that what you, like, no. Weed means it's a plant that has no purpose. Srila Prabhupada said, there is nothing in Krishna's creation that doesn't have a purpose. Everything has a purpose. We do not know its purpose. That's why we call it, it has no purpose. Just 50 years back, people did not know about vitamin E-based those plants that appear like big thorns. What are they called? They normally, aloe vera. Just 50 years back, people were thinking it to be a wild plant. And now, over the years, big industries have grown around aloe vera. So, my dear devotees, sometimes we have to be very cautious as what we think has no purpose but has great purpose in Krishna's arrangement. Now, this inquiry of Vidur to sage Maitreya, who sage Maitreya is a very close friend of Vyasdev. So there is he's like uncle to Vidur because Vyasdev is his biological father. And he's asking Maitreya Muni, sage Maitreya Muni, how many offsprings did the great yogi beget through princes? Now, Vidur and Vidurani, I'm going to refer Vidur's wife as Vidurani because that's how she has been referred in the Shastras. They had many sons. And again, it looks like when they're asking how many offspring, seems like some material talk, but it's not. Because all the daughters that they have, they were responsible for further increasing the progeny, increasing the population in this universe. Right? And so when we look at this question, it may appear to be genealogical. How many children did they have? But Srila Prabhupada's purport directs our attention towards Ashtanga Yoga, Brahmacharya, sense control. He's talking about spiritual preparation, responsible family life, and the difference between genuine yoga and spirituality, right? Used to justify unrestricted enjoyment. So that's, we have to, everything has to be regulated. We shouldn't be looking at sense gratification aspect of it. Which reminds me of a time when Srila Prabhupada, he had just married a young couple. Next morning, they wanted to go out on a walk with Srila Prabhupada. And so the husband asked Srila Prabhupada, so Srila Prabhupada, please provide us some instruction. What's the duty of a householder? Srila Prabhupada said, every time you are about to eat after you have offered bhoga, you're about to take prasad, you should open the front door and shout 3 times. Is there anyone who is hungry? Please come, we have prasad for you. And after they have said 3 times, if anybody comes, they should share the prasad with that person. And if nobody comes, then they can have prasad. So the man was not satisfied, the disciple wasn't satisfied. And so they went through the talk, had further, and then while returning back, he asked the same question. Srila Prabhupada, is there an instruction? Srila Prabhupada gave him a very good instruction. He said, before you sit down to eat and honor prasadam, open the door of your front door and shout 3 times, is there anyone hungry out here? We have prasadam for you. We have nice, sumptuous food stuff for you to honor. And only then, we should take it. And if somebody comes, we should share the prasad. And so the gentleman was hoping that Srila Prabhupada would change his instruction to be more regulated. But in reality, regulation starts with our tongue. This is the strongest of all our 5 senses. If we can control the tongue and give it the right kind of food stuff that is spiritually nourishing to the soul as well as body, keep us active in our devotional service is what he was hinting at. A healthy mind resides in a healthy body. We know this as a fact. So to keep the body healthy is our responsibility. And this is where governing also comes. But it all starts with yearn to hear. Right? It's the first quality of a yogi. I'm not talking about the 26 qualities. I'm talking that if we just hear, right, it's not a breath control, it's not a mystic power, it's not the ability to perform miracles. It is just eagerness to hear Krishna Katha. It's very interesting that every time there is gossip going on, it was very interesting. I was sitting with the devotees and they were talking about US politics and Indian politics. And they were so interested and engrossed. I was like, Krishna Katha. I'm missing Krishna Katha in this association. Sometimes it happens that people are more eager to talk about worldly things they can't control. Here, Vidur wants to hear the narration of the offsprings of Kadamuni and Devahuti, his wife, Kadamuni's wife. So this shows curiosity, it shows the desire to hear receptively, submissively hearing, and with a willingness to serve. That is what he is trying to do. And Maitreya Muni, who is a great yogi himself, is very pleased to hear this question of Vidur because he understands the context Vidur has. So every one of us look at the same object with different perception. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that yes, a king may be sitting on a throne and a mosquito may be sitting on his, hand or leg, on his limbs. But that mosquito does not become the king just because he's sitting on the throne with the king. The mosquito is actually a nuisance because its purpose is different. When we look at, someone, our perception of that person is like, this person is a devotee. Srila Prabhupada, in the very early stages of ISKCON, when he was asked, how many disciples do you have? He said, I have many disciples. I'm paraphrasing. That he referred to that he has many disciples, some know it, some don't. Right? And similarly, somebody was asking me, this was almost a decade back, how many devotees are there in this world? One gentleman who was coming new to the temple. I said, actually, everyone is a devotee. Some know it, some don't. Because Jivera Sarupaya Krishnera Nityadas. All living entities are eternal servant of Krishna. Krishna has Tathashta Shakti Veda Ved Prakash. So when we are engaged in devotional service, then we are in sync with Krishna. That's what it means. Doesn't mean we have become one with Krishna. Our motives have become one to please Krishna. And when we want to please Krishna, Krishna reflects back by pleasing us, by giving us that, the pleasure in our heart, by giving more devotion, more ananda, bliss. Not just a regular happiness, but bliss. Bliss is much higher than just regular happiness. So we have to reflect on the teachings and seeing how deeply it's affecting us. We may have heard about humility, but have we become easier to correct? That's the question we should be asking. We may have heard about cooperation, but have we become easier to work with? Are we cooperating with others? Or are we just expecting everyone to cooperate with us no matter what we do? Right? Sometimes that becomes the motive. It's very interesting to expect something from others than expecting ourselves to put on the same pedestal and same criteria. We may have heard about surrender. Anukulyasa sankalpa pratikulyasa vajanam rakshishati iti vishvaso gopatitve varnam tatha atmanikshep karmane sarvidha sharanagati. The 6 limbs of sharanagati, of surrender, we may have heard. Right? Anukulyasa sankalpa. Accept everything that's favorable to devotional service. Pratikulyasa vajanam. Reject everything that is unfavorable for our devotional service. Rakshishati iti vishvaso. Always remember that, Lord will protect us. Gopatitra varnam tata, that He is our protector. Atma nikshepa, surrender everything, mind, body, and words, everything. Tan man dhan sab hai tera. In India, we say, there is a song, that everything belongs to you, Lord. What is mine? And so we offer everything back to the Lord. That's a very sweet gesture. Lord looks at it and He becomes very pleased when we do that, when we offer everything that we have in His service. So when we are surrendering our various, and karpane means humility, are we becoming more humble? So these are 6 limbs of Sharanagati. And so we have also heard about Vaishnava etiquettes. But do others feel respected? Do others feel protected? And do others feel encouraged in our presence? Right? That's the measure of hearing is not merely information entering the ear, but when it's entering, is it just entering from one end, going out the other, or is it really stopping in the middle portion here, helping us understand, and then getting absorbed in the body in the form of action is coming out? So that response is much needed by the devotees. That's something is we all looking to endure in our lives. So when we are saying yearn to year means is to practice. That's the next aspect, that we have to order our life around divine instruction, right? So willingness to order life around divine instruction is a very good quality to have. Kadama Muni did not say, I'm a yogi, marriage and family responsibilities are beneath me. And also he did not say, I have received an instruction, so let me enter family life impulsively and work out the details later. Both are the extreme ends, right? He first purified his consciousness, my dear devotees. He meditated on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Lord appeared and he said, my dear Lord, who should I marry? And Lord understood with that request what he actually means. So much so that Lord said, yes, you will, Swambhuva Manu himself will come and offer his daughter in marriage to you. And you will beget 9 daughters, wonderful daughters, and then I would also appear as your son. Now he is not even married, and he has been given this. In today's time, somebody gets such a announcement from the Lordship, they will go out in the world. I'm going to the Father of the Lord. Again, the mindset of materialists is very strange. So we have to understand that Kadam Muni did not do any of those. He focused on purification of his consciousness, and he became spiritually prepared for the responsibility that he had been endowed with. So spirituality is not an escape from responsibility, my dear devotees. Right? Sometimes we may say, I'm detached, when we actually do not want accountability. We may say, Krishna will arrange, when we have not made a responsible effort. And sometimes there is also a tendency that, people say, everything is temporary. When someone is actually asked us to repair the damage we have caused, that's like, it got destroyed because it's temporary. It's not my doing. We have to take accountability. We have to be responsible, and we have to do our action responsibly, in the proper attitude. So sometimes there's a tendency to just chant, right? But the service requires cooperation. It requires some strategy, some planning, some financial transparency. It requires communication, collaboration, and patient cares for others. And here Kadama is demonstrating this another path, that he neither rejected the instruction nor performed it whimsically. He actually performed the order and developed that spiritual strength to carry out, to fulfill it properly. Right? It was not yogic performance or yogic abilities to avoid responsibility. He used that yogic ability to perform it responsibly, to be accountable for his actions. And so the Lord arranged for him. It reminds me of a nice conversation. Sometimes husband and wives, we are talking about family life, right? They may have conversation. A husband once told his wife, I have become detached from household responsibilities because the scriptures teach renunciation. Sometimes the words go in our ears, but we haven't meditated enough, right? So his wife smiled and pointed out to the sink and said, yes, there are 12 plates waiting for your realization in the sink. So his response was, I'm attempting to become free from fruity work. And she's again smiling back and saying, Krishna recommends duty without attachment, not duty without detergent. So understanding what his wife is hinting, the husband washed the dishes and discovered that the food was easier to clean than his false ego. So after some meditation and on that conversation, he said, today I achieved purification through Karma Yoga and stainless steel yoga, that cleansing effort. It was internal and external. So the lesson is that renunciation means giving up selfish possessiveness, not abandoning service simply because service is inconvenient. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and keeping Krishna in the center is the focus. So we hear, we obey, we endure, we keep Krishna in the center, and thus we can make our life blissful. I will just quickly touch on the 8 limbs of mystic yoga or Ashtanga yoga, because we have equal parallels of these in our Bhakti yoga as well. Yama refers to restraints, things we should not do. In Bhakti yoga, we also have 4 things that we shouldn't do: no meat eating, no fish, eggs, no intoxication, including tea or coffee, no illicit sex, regulated within marriage life to beget children. And 4th, last but not least, no gambling, which actually translates to no telling lies. And further, it is explained by Srila Prabhupada, is to share Krishna consciousness with others, because if we are not sharing Krishna consciousness with others, then we are not really fully following this instruction. So those 4 things that we should not do is there. Now, niyam is regulation. So yes, there are regulations within each ashrams that we follow. In addition to that, minimum chanting of 16 rounds every day, and to follow the vow that we have made to our spiritual master, that they have to be endowed. Those who are following the Brahmanical, qualification, they have to do 3 times Gayatri daily and related activities. So all those regulations are there. Asanas, steady sitting posture. Asanas is, in our case, when we do the meditation with a chanting, then we have to do it at one spot. And sometimes, yes, walking is also allowed. Srila Prabhupada walked when he was chanting, he would walk. And so that is there. So the asana says to make our mind sit at one place. It's not to make the body sit at one place, to make our mind become attentive to hearing the holy name, because it is the purification of the mind through the attentive hearing that. So this asana refers in Bhakti Yoga to the mind perspective. And pranayam is regulation of breath and vital air. And in our case, the seva, service, cleaning the temple, serving the devotees, serving the deities, all these things refer to this pranayam principle because we are carrying out various activities. And pratyahara is very important. When Srila Prabhupada, he met a young couple who had come from India, and Srila Prabhupada just gave them an instruction, don't go to the mall. And they didn't understand. They felt like Srila Prabhupada is saying, don't go to the mall because now I don't want you to enjoy. And the wife somehow means they were never seen again. So when sometimes devotees reflect on that particular time, it's like because that was too difficult. The wife and husband, they had come from India and they had seen some amazing, materialistically attractive things in malls and places all around in US, and they were attracted to it. And they felt like a sannyasi is telling them to take sannyas. And that's not the purpose of material life, married life. So it did not sync with them. The purpose was very clear that we have to control our senses. We have to be like, as soon as we seek danger, and this danger comes in the form of allurement, it looks sweet, but it's very poisonous. We should immediately, just like a turtle withdraws its limbs when sensing danger, similarly, we have to withdraw our limbs when we see the snare of Maya around us. So that is referring to Pratyahara. Dharana is concentration. No matter what activity we do, we don't have to just go and do that dharana at one spot, but rather all activities should be around concentrating on Krishna. Everything should be offered to Krishna. Everything should be done for the pleasure of Krishna. Everything should be done as Krishna desires. And so a meditation on Krishna constantly goes on. That is referring to dhyana, which comes to that level of asakti that we become completely dependent on. So again, when we talk about that, faith and so forth, the progression, those 9 steps. So here we are coming to the level, and when we come to samadhi, samadhi comes to the level of bhav. And when the bhav increases in concentration, it turns into prema. So these 8 have parallels in Bhakti Yoga as well, the 8. And the mystic powers in case of devotees is a devotee has those 26 qualities endowed, and with chanting, the Bhakti Lata, which takes shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, Shishira, and Golok Vrindavan, it bears fruits. And those are the fruits that we seek to offer to Krishna, not to eat, but to offer to Krishna. Because that is the prema that Krishna, once he has tasted them, then it becomes true prema. And that is a great bliss for our life, a great boon. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Gantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnavind ki jai. Back to you, Satya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wow. Well, we're learning every single day. And I believe we've learned so much. Like you were saying, some devotees will say, oh, I've read this verse before. I've said, but you can read one verse for 20 years. And each time you read, it will appear different. It's amazing. It's like I once visited one temple in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. And I don't know how it was painted, but there was one Krishna deity picture in the temple room. Wherever you go, Krishna's eye is following you. I was so afraid of that picture. I mean, Krishna should not be feared, but I was afraid because I was thinking, I'm doing something crazy and Krishna is looking at me, because wherever I go, Krishna is looking at me. So, well, thank you so much. Dear devotees, if anyone has questions, comments, reflections, realizations you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Yeah, His Grace Shimabara Acharya Prabhu, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hi, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila
Yeah.
Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Prabhu. The explanation you've just given to the eight mystic process of yoga.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can get your explanation of pranayam. Sounds like something different from what I used to know, but maybe you can.
Pranayama is breathing exercises. You basically have Bhastrika, which is long breath. Then you have Kapalabhati, which is like, pushing the stomach. I show you all those things. We do it every morning to situate ourselves properly so that we can carry out the activities very nicely. So, yes.
Okay. I only heard about the activities, but I didn't hear about the breathing. Okay, and then the last one. Can you draw a distinct line between concentration and meditation? Can you just draw the line between the two, concentration and meditation?
Yes, actually, there is a way. Concentration could be on any object. Meditation has feelings along with the concentration. Sometimes a student is listening the instruction of the teacher with the focus on understanding. But a mother is meditating on her child with the feeling of love. They appear externally similar, but have completely different applications. The context is varying. Does that help you? Meditation has concentration as its subset. Meditation is much more than just concentration.
Yeah, that is easier said than done. I mean, we can say that, but still, for instance, you need concentration to drive.
Yes.
You need concentration as a doctor if you're doing surgery.
Yes.
There are many things that are very delicate that really requires all our concentration.
Yes.
But that cannot be said to be meditation.
No, it is not.
Then
Because
there are also
meditation.
then there are things also that if we're meditating, there are things we cannot do while meditating. Maybe there are things we cannot do when we focus all our attention. I mean, meditation, totally absorbed. So that is where the distinction, I think the distinction lies. Maybe there are a lot of things. I mean, sometimes we're driving and we are tempted to do other things, right? But we need concentration. But if we're meditating, and our attention is all focused and absorbed, then I don't think we can drive.
You're right, but you're from the materialistic perspective, it appears. But Yashoda Mai, she's on Diwali morning, Krishna is still sleeping, she's churning butter. And why is she churning butter? Thinking that I'll get nice butter from churning the yogurt, I'll get nice butter and I'll feel it to my Lalla, Krishna, and that way he will be very happy. So just by this thought that I'm churning this for Krishna, she's thinking of Krishna and she's singing Krishna's songs. Like how sweet he is, how wonderful he is, how cute he is, and all these things. So concentration is just one aspect, which is focus, which is just of your mind, and then it has to come directly in your action. But here the actions are driving because of the feelings. So the meditation is driven by feelings, while concentration is driven by focus. So one is focus of our senses in a specific. But here in meditation, the focus is on the heart, not just the senses.
Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you. That is something I had not thought of, concentration versus meditation. But thankfully, I just looked it up. I just looked it up, and there is an affirmation to what JIVA TATTVA PRABHU is saying, in the sense that it says concentration is just a tool, whereas meditation is a state of being that you experience. So it seems to me like JIVA TATTVA PRABHU was saying, Mother Yashoda Mai, as she was churning the milk, she was meditating on Krishna. And in an ordinary sense, it may be impossible or very difficult to meditate on Krishna while churning the butter and at the same time be able to churn the butter nicely. But we realize that Yashoda Mai was able to do that. So as she was meditating on Krishna while churning the butter, her whole being was in Krishna. Whereas concentration is just a tool that one uses. This is not me. This is what I got from AI. So if anyone has something better, please you may share. But it makes sense to me that concentration is just a tool that one uses to get to what he wants to get, where he wants to get to. I think Monica Prabhu, sorry, Mataji, well, Prabhu, it doesn't make any difference. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my most humble obeisances. I just want to first, I'm very grateful for the beautiful discourse lecture by Prabhuji. A few points, takeaways, which I really I liked very much is that measure of hearing has a reciprocal relation with how much we absorb about Krishna Katha. This is, I'll keep it in my mind. And also, Prabhuji said that spirituality is not an escape from our responsibilities, and we should do our duties, keeping Krishna in the center, and that is duties without attachment. And so beautifully, Prabhuji said that it is easy to clean the utensils than to clean the heart. That is Cheto Darpan Marjanam. My small question is that, Prabhuji, you said that while an instruction is given by a spiritual master, the disciple should think before doing, right? And this is very true. But sometimes what happens is that as a practicing devotee, the intelligence is low because as you can say, a devotee doesn't have that intelligence which sometimes is expected also, and unintentionally it might happen or it happens that the mistakes are committed, and the devotee tries to rectify also, but still while doing that improvements, the rectifications do not align with the expectations of the spiritual master. So I wanted to know that what should a devotee do in such a case? How should a devotee improve himself in such a situation? Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
So again, I can only use the examples that I have seen in my life. There is a tendency that when we make a mistake and somebody corrects us, we make some improvement, but we may not have really addressed the mistake that we're making. And that improvement is what sometimes when the person points it out again, us senior Vaishnava or the spiritual master or our mentor or coaches, any one of them or the teachers, they point that mistake out again. our false ego has this tendency of appearing and saying, but I made the improvement. You're not recognizing the improvement I'm making. You are just chastising me on the mistakes that are still there. In reality, a disciple is one who is ready to be disciplined. So it becomes a responsibility of a spiritual master, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Pathadashi Guru, any of those, or senior Vaishnavas or sadhus. We look from that perspective that we want to make sure that the other party, the person who's learning, is engaged to do it nicely for Krishna's pleasure. So senior devotees, acharyas, the gurus, they are able to seek what will please Krishna. And that's why they are asking you to improve. And as a disciple, we should always be ready to be disciplined, which means we should understand that their motive is to please Krishna, not to please us. They are not AIs. If you ask AI a question and you put your intention, AI just complies with you. They are not artificial intelligence. They are Krishna's intelligence. They are endowed with the intelligence provided to them by Krishna through Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra as their principles, guides. So we should respect that. We should be very much thinking favorably that yes, I made some improvements. It's like we are in a hospital, a spiritual hospital. This world is our spiritual hospital. Sometimes we refer to as temple, but the temple is, as per Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, every house in every town and every state will have his name being chanted. So in the reality, this whole world is a spiritual world. If we look from the right perspective, if we can see Krishna everywhere. And so coming to the focus is, how are we pleasing Krishna? How are we carrying out our activities for pleasing Krishna? If we receive some service, we should understand what needs to be improved. And Srila Prabhupada was perfect sometimes giving his instructions because he has that maturity, he had the purity, and purity is the force. The May 4th comes and everyone goes to that Star Wars slogan, May the Force with you. Vaishnavas say, well, we don't have to wait for that one day. 365 days of the year, we have the force with you because purity is the force. We have to continuously purify ourselves. And every time somebody is pointing out that impurity in us, it is actually a great boon. That person is our best friend. The critics, the feedback that we are receiving from seniors is they are acting as our best friend because it's their love that they're taking out the time to help us improve from where they are. They want us to reach the goal, not just get stuck one step before the goal. Hopefully this answers the question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, but my point was that the disciple is ready to be disciplined and the intelligence is low and is not able to understand or grasp the service, or
Yes.
then what should the intelligence is not up to mark. So
So you ask
can the
question, inquire from the person who's giving you instruction. Could you help me understand what do you mean? But not make the person do the whole thing. That will beat the purpose. Let me give you an example from Ramayana. Vishwamitra, he tells Ramchandra during Sita Swayamvar time, Vatsa, Dhanush Pashyati. So he is saying, go and see the bow. Lord Ramchandra, being a first-class devotee, is setting the example of a first-class devotee. But because I'm saying in first class, I have to also tell you what the third class is. Third-class devotee would say, disciple would say, why should I say it? You go and see it. Second-class devotee, he will get up, look it from a distance, nice bow, comes back. And if the special master says, did you see the bow? Yeah, I've seen the bow. What is it like? It looks nice. That would be the response. But a first-class devotee is what Lord Ramchandra does. He understands the purport behind that instruction. He goes, he looks at the bow, he picks up the bow, and the bow can only be properly seen when it is in action. So he tries to put the pratyancha, the thread, onto the top side. That's when the bow breaks. And the tumultuous sound happens in the assembly. And everyone's like, whoa, he's so powerful that he broke the bow. But breaking the bow was never the thing. The challenge was whoever can pick up the bow and put the pratyancha on it. But once who can, because Lord Ram had brought it to pratyancha and the bow broke, shows his strength that he could have easily put put the thread on the bow and he was going to stretch it to make the sound and see how good it is. So he actually understood what's being asked. That's the first class devotee. And you're saying that yes, sometimes our intelligence may not be there, then we should inquire. We should inquire, can you show me? Srila Prabhupada, when he was teaching Yamuna Mataji how to cook, she was standing in the kitchen and she had this bad habit of going out to smoke again and again. And many times because of that, she had the tendency to touch her fingers to her mouth. And Srila Prabhupada was every time stopping her, don't touch anything, wash your hands first, wash your mouth first, go and clean up with the cloth, then come back. He had to be present. And afterwards, devotees tell that Yamuna Mataji's cooking was perfect. She was, in her writing, she was talking about the Srila Prabhupada while making one dish. Srila Prabhupada must have stopped her and asked her to clean up again and again, minimum 50 times. But that was initial purification. She got so fumed up that she went out and smoked a cigarette and then came back in. She got so fumed up by all stopping every time, cleaning her mouth, cleaning her hands. So sometimes, yes, it becomes overwhelming in the beginning, but it is for our purification. If you seek perfection, you will take the instruction. If you seek perfection, then you will inquire. Because that's what Srimad Bhagavatam is. It's filled with inquiries. We have Parikshit Maharaj asking the very initial question, what's the duty of a man and especially of a one who's about to die? And what does Shukdev Goswami says? Tasmad Bharat Sarvatma Bhagwan Ishwara Hari Shotavya Kirtitavyasha Smatavasyasha Chechathabhyam. So he's revealing that the duty of a living entity is to worship the Supreme Lord. And how? Shotavya, hearing, being an audience to his Krishna Katha. And Kirtitavyasa, reciting, chanting those glories of the Lord. And Smartavisha, remembering the Lord's wonderful pastimes. So when we have the inquiry to understand, that's Guru. But when we try the inquiries to test the Guru or test our seniors, then it becomes a Vaishnava opera. So we have to also be very careful that yes, intelligence is needed. And believe me, there are enough resources online that you can refer to come to the level of understanding. AI is there always to help you understand. But be aware of hallucinations and deviations and drifting. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for the
Prabhuji. Hare
response.
Krishna.
I was initially thinking that Monique Davy was talking about me because this is the problem I
Prabhuji,
have,
never.
my crazy intelligence. But thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Prabhuji.
See, that is, thank you so much. That is why I'm happy in the sense that I've come to understand this for quite some time now, that everyone should have at least one devotee that you can count on, you can trust, that if you are faced with any challenge, any difficulty, you can go to this devotee and then lay your difficulties before him or her, and this person will help you. And luckily for me, I have such devotee, at least devotees. Yes, devotee. So, Monica, thank you so much. And Shri Jiva TATTVA Prabhu, thank you so much for the response. Hamsadita Prabhu, please, if you may unmute, then we'll go to Shima Varaha. Hamsadita Prabhu, please unmute.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Grace. Please can you accept my respectful obeisance?
Yeah.
All glory to Krishna Prabhupada. All glories to one of us, and all glories to you. I'm sorry I wanted to ask this question yesterday, but I didn't have the chance, so I want to bring it up if you can help me to understand, please. So my question is that when we become a devotees and we take shelter in Guru and Krishna, we become spiritually connected to Krishna and we become connected to the ISKCON, which our dear Sri Prabhupada bring to us. So we belong to this Vaishnava. So my question is that when you become a devotee, are you still spiritually connected to your family, or when you become a devotee, this spiritual connection with the family break up? And if it's still there, what influence can it get on you? If this is my question, just a curiosity, if you can help me to understand. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I will give you the answer from Mahabharata. Arjun's dilemma. Arjun's dilemma is because Krishna is very, he understands Arjun's mind. He has actually caused Arjun to ask this question that these two armies are there. Bring my chariot to the middle so I can see who are these people on the other side desiring to fight to, benefit and satisfy the mind of Kauravas, my cousin brothers. And Krishna brings the chariot right in front of Dronacharya and Bhishma. And Arjun immediately sees them. That he sees all other relatives, but my guru, my spiritual master is here, Shiksha Guru, and my grandsire, my grandfather, he's here. So from that perspective, he's really in perplexed state. And he says 5 reasons he gives why he should not fight. And one of the reasons is that Guru na Hatva. I have acquired sin if I hurt my Guru, if I fight with my Guru, if I hurt him in any manner. Because you have to, engage anger to be able to fight. And I cannot be angry with my grandfather. I cannot be angry with my spiritual master. I can be shooting arrows at them. And such a sinful person will has to suffer in hell. And if I by chance kill all these people, then there'll be even the future generations will be destroyed. Varna Sankara is talking about unwanted progeny will generate because the women will be polluted. He's giving all this and from a materialistic perspective, if a materialistic reads Mahabharata, they will say exactly that's what happened. Because they're only looking at the external symptoms, but they are not looking at the internal transformation that's happening. That all the people gathered on that battlefield, except for some people, all of them were actually delivered by Krishna, and they all went to Vaikuntha, to the spiritual world. However, in this two personalities where Arjun's concern was, Lord Krishna, he says that there was not a time I did not exist, and there will not be a time that any of the kings or you will cease to exist. So we all are eternal souls. And in a way, Krishna is hinting that your guru's body has become old, Jara. Your Bhishma Pitamaha is bound by that woe, and he is suffering emotionally, but by getting killed in this war, they will rejuvenate, they will get spiritual bodies because they are my devotees. And that's what exactly happened. That Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama, they went back home, back to Godhead. So they attained the perfection of life. The purpose of life was met. And that's the very reason their existence was. And Bhishma Pitama is glorified so much so that he's one of the Mahajanas. And when we look from that perspective, the whole meaning changes, the whole context changes. So what spirituality enables us to deepen our relationship with our family. We are not thinking that I am bound by attachment to this. We understand that I am supposed to be serving other Vaishnavas, and these family members are also Vaishnavas. And it becomes our duty to share Krishna consciousness with them, to share prasad with them, to chant with them, to dance with them, to engage them in Krishna conscious activity. That becomes our activity. And at the least, we can pray for them. If they do not take it, yes, that's their choice. There's a free will aspect at play here. So we can pray for them and let Krishna do his magic. miracles instead of we trying to turn people against their will. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So per your question, that means we are still spiritually connected, no matter.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So if they are doing some kind of different ceremony spiritually, like I'll say it that way, like sacrifices, like killing animals and so on, does it affect you because you are connected to them?
It affects you if you take their association. It doesn't affect you when you give your association. It's a very deep aspect. We should not take their association because then we are accepting their way of life, which will impure our consciousness, causes impurity to our consciousness, can contaminate us. Rather, we should be sharing Krishna consciousness that helps us further purify and them also continue to purify. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that it makes others happy and it makes us more happy. That is making others happy, and Krishna and Guru and sadhus are smiling at us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srivara Prabhu, you have something to ask? Please give me a mute.
Yeah, Sorry, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu. Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhu said if you take their association, I would like Prabhu to explain that more. How do we take their association?
So, for example, they are talking about politics, and you are sitting there and you are hearing them talk about politics. And it's very interesting that sometimes when family is talking about politics, I'll give you an example. We should be thinking about what kind of politics, in Mahabharata was going on. And if they have heard about Mahabharata or something like that, we should try to draw the spiritual parallel and also see Krishna's hand in different things, but not really get engrossed. I was hearing two devotees today talk about Indian politics and American politics, and they were talking about their own terms, completely disconnected. And I was wondering, we are sitting in a temple in front of Shishi Radha Madhav, and we are engaging in this gossip. And these are devotees. And then it just occurred to me that they have lost connection. Sometimes this is what happens. We are on a spiritual ground, but we are bringing our material consciousness to that spiritual ground. So similarly, when we are sitting with our relatives and they're talking about worldly things that attract them, maybe, we have to think of ways how to connect them to Krishna. I'll give you an example. My son, he likes to wear nice t-shirts with something written on them, like something very interesting. So I tried to pick up some t-shirts where I put some Prabhupada's like some slogan, some quote, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, so many beautiful quotes. So again, putting those quotes on the t-shirts, it passes the message and it satisfies their need that they wanted something cool to appear on their t-shirt. So it's not that you have just given them association. Anyone who's connecting with them will also get, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami's association and Prabhupada's association. So devotees are very intelligent because Krishna provides that intelligence. And we just have to be innovative in implementing that intelligence to be able to not just connect them, but connect the whole environment they are in with Krishna. Remember, we talked about Vibhishan. Vibhishan had Ram, Ram, Ram written at every corner, every place in his house. So Ravan came. He's like, how dare you support my enemy? Ram never thought Ravan as his enemy, but Ravan always thought of Ram as his enemy. So Vibhishan said, you're mistaken, brother. He's saying, Ravana Mandodari, Ravana Mandodari. I just shortened it as. So he said, oh, so every house in Lanka should have Ram written on their walls. So after Hanuman had burned the Lanka, and Ram had not even reached, but his name had reached before, on every wall, every nook and corner of Lanka, it was painted Ram at every wall. That's intelligence.
Thank you so much. Srivara Prabhu. Oh, sorry. Govina Prabhu, you got an answer to your question?
Thank you.
Okay. Shivara Prabhu, please. We cannot hear you. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. I turned your camera off because I think it was
Right.
taking
So
so
two
much
things.
bandwidth.
First, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So I want a clarification, some clarity on the answer given about meditation, because after you looking it up and then using Prabhu's example, it sounds like meditation you can be multitasking like Mother Yasoda, and that is contrary to what I know about meditation. I don't know whether you can be multitasking while you're meditating, and so the AI tells you that concentration is a tool. Well, of course, meditation can be a state of being, but then can we multitask while doing meditation? That's my question.
Actually, meditation is a state of being. You are reminding me of a beautiful pastime when His Holiness Radhanath Swami, who was referred to as Richard, Master Richard in the beginning, he was new. He had lived with the yogis in Himalayas before. And so when he met the devotees, he found it a little weird because he always thought of devotees to be grave, right? Guru means heavy, and devotees are grave in nature. So he wasn't so much into, dancing and singing and those activities. He found a little weird. He found himself out of place when that was happening. So one day he was at the temple and a nice kirtan was going on. He was like, wait a minute, why is this devotees, they're just dancing and chanting? He was wondering about it. And suddenly he was seeing this devotees, dancing and jumping all over. And then he looked at the deities and he looked at the deities and he saw that deities were also going up and down and up and down and up and down. He couldn't believe. He's like, how is it the devotees are dancing and the deities are dancing? How could it be possible? And suddenly he got realization of his external state and he saw that he was jumping up and down. And that's why he was seeing the deities as jumping up and down. That is the effect of association. That you can be so much completely lost in the thought and feeling so much bliss that your body goes in rhythm. That's what is happening to Mother Yashoda. That her body is going in rhythm, thinking that when Lalla will eat this butter that I will make from the churning of this yogurt, he would love it. And so she was eager in churning, but then thinking that my Lalla, the moment she thinks of Krishna, her mouth starts singing glories of Krishna, like a mother sings of her child's, beauty, the wonderful pastimes, and so forth. So our whole body, independently, all limbs start meditating and completely get absorbed. Absorbed doesn't mean they become dull, they become exceptionally active and fully engaged in that activity. So Mother Yashoda activity was she is going to feed Lalla the butter that she will churn. So her body was fully in sync with that. The tongue was fully in sync with singing Lord Krishna's glory. Mind was fully in meditating on those pastimes that she was singing, as how Krishna is so wonderful. And so it's engagement. It's not that absorption causes engagement. And all limbs are independently conscious, yet in sync. Does that make sense? We see Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he saw Krishna came, just by seeing Krishna, he became, all his limbs, it is said in Bhagavatam, became individually conscious because they fell in rhythm in welcoming Krishna, and his eyes were, showing the tears, his hairs were standing up, and he wanted to embrace Krishna with his arms. He wanted to kiss Krishna with his lips. It was that attraction, that engagement that absorption cost. So that's what is being referred to as meditation here. It's not just a mind is just absorbed. No, it's complete absorption of one mind, senses, and words. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shravana Prabhu, I think, yeah. Well, I think this we can.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
1
go
minute.
ahead. Yes.
1 minute, please. Yeah, so answer Gita's question. Of course, it's drawn from yesterday's class.
Yeah.
And he was asking that question because Vishwara Prabhu said devotees are Achyuta Gotra. So that's why I think he's asking the question whether we still have connection with our family or not. But I think when Prabhu was saying that yesterday, well, I didn't want to interrupt him. But when we use the term Achyuta Gotra, that is when the priest is officiating. So he can only belong to Krishna's Gotra as a priest, you know? Like the traditional Indian priests who have some sages as their Gotra. But I don't think all devotees can be said to be Achyuta Gotra, because if a devotee has some function to perform, he is free to mention the name of his family and ancestors. But the priest is considered Achyuta Gotra in the ceremony. So this is I don't know if Prabhu has something to say, but this is my understanding. And that does not mean that all devotees are automatically Achyuta Gotra, no more link with their family. That's why he asked that question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So my response would be, can you tell me any living entity who's not Achyuta Gotra, who has not come from Krishna? Have they come from somewhere else?
Yeah, but then what I said is that if a devotee wants to do some function, a family devotee, he has to. Then of course he has to mention the name of his family. But then the priest always is Achyuta Gotra, right?
Because
that's what I think.
Acting
Anyway,
as a
if
representative.
the devotee has a function to perform.
Yes. So the response a priest would
Go ahead,
give,
Prabhu, I'm listening.
yeah, because he's directly relating to Krishna. So that's why he's referring. But in reality, Achyuta Gotra is an umbrella statement for every living entity, whether they are devotee or non-devotee. Everyone is in Achyuta Gotra because everyone is coming from Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate. Nadir Adir Govinda. There is no one beyond him, and he's the cause of all causes. Sarva Karana Karana. So when we look from that perspective, some know it, some don't. That's the difference. Some know that we are devotees of Krishna, Jivera Supra Krishna and Ditara. Some don't know it. Some are Godas, serving their senses or serving the extension of their senses as their family members or neighborhood or society or nation or a specific religion or sectarianism. Srila Prabhupada was once asked when he was in Mid East, one devotee complained saying that Srila Prabhupada, these devotees, they go out for Sankirtan and half the time they are chanting name of Allah and half the time they are doing Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Srila Prabhupada said, don't make me sectarian. Both are name of Krishna. Allah means all powerful. Who is all powerful? Krishna is all powerful. Those are one of the 6 potencies as per Parashamuni. Aishwaryasya samagasya viryasya, all powerful. Yashasya jnana vairagayasya vasannam bhagaiti gana. So Parashamuni in Vishwaparag was the definition of Bhagavan, that is full in all these 6 opulences. And all powerful is one of them. So yes, they are calling Krishna only when they are calling Allah. And we are calling, Krishna directly when they are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is a prayer to, beg for devotional service from the Lordships. Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji. I think I'm Sadhuta Prabhu's question, and Srimara Prabhu elaborating on it. Of course, it's like we said, it's from yesterday's lecture. And from the context of yesterday's lecture, the understanding is a little bit obscure. That is why Srimara Prabhu also tried to elaborate. And that reminds me of a lecture, I wouldn't mention the name, a lecture one renowned guru in ISKCON. I love him so much. Very wonderful guru. He was giving, and he was talking about I and mine. You know, nothing is ours. And so one of the words he asked that, yes, we know nothing is ours, but we are communicating, we're talking to people. How do we communicate with people when I have to tell of my nationality? For example, I say, I'm a Ghanaian. I know originally I'm not a Ghanaian, but in communicating with fellow persons, if they ask me of my nationality, I will say Ghanaian. Yes. And so this is the word he asked this guru, if my hand is sore, how do I express that to another person? How can I say my hand is sore? If I say my hand is sore, I'm claiming ownership of my hand, you know, but we know that we do not own the hand. So I think in the context of what the speaker was saying yesterday, that is why Amsaduta Prabhu was asking, like, even though we are devotees, can we still make a reference to our, our material connections? And that is why Shivara Prabhu was trying to elaborate. That when the priest is doing something, it's Krishna there, so everything directly to Krishna. But if it is not directly related to Krishna like that, that is where this question is coming from. You were not here, so you wouldn't really understand what went on.
Yeah, thank you for elaborating that, Sadhya Prabhu. And that's why we have to understand what's the perspective of the question.
Yes.
To respond. So understanding that the priest is saying he is from Achyuta Gotra is because he's directly acting as a representative of Krishna. Yes. Krishna is the Yajna Purusha, and he's making an offering to Krishna. So he has to show that he's in relationship to Krishna, and that relationship to Krishna is reflected as Achyuta Gotra.
Yeah.
And so saying I'm a Ghanaian is respective answer to the person who's inquiring, because that's what they want to know. Mm-hmm. They don't want to know that we are the eternal spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna. No, that's hallucination to them. We are just drifted away from reality. Yeah. Material world, when the questions are asked, we have to be directly addressing the perception behind that question. Respond to the perception, not to the Siddhanta at that time. Yes.
I love that. Shri Amsaduta Prabhu, yes? You have a follow-up something? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, my another question is that, so, for instance, we devotees, we have rules and regulations and we have to follow. And some of us, we were not born devotees. We were in different faith before we come to Krishna consciousness. And we have our children. And in Vaishnavism, when you grow to a certain age, you have to hand over to your son to take over, to take the responsibilities. So in the case of your son is not a devotee, all he does is self-gratification, he don't want to have anything to do with Krishna consciousness. Do you still have to leave your inheritance or everything for him to continue his self-gratification? Or you don't have to do that? This is my question.
Hare Krishna. So the question is very valid in today's world. And I would like to bring in a reference from Chaitanya Chaitamrita. Raise your hand if you know about Vakreshwar Pandit.
A little bit, not much.
Vakreshwar Pandit was a dancer in Chaitanya Leela.
Yes.
And he would dance for hours and hours. And it is said that he could dance for 72 hours continuously. So much so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Vakreshwar, you're like my one wing. And if I had another one like you, I could fly. Now, Vakreshwar Pandit's life, if you get an opportunity to dive down, when devotees saw him, he was always happy. He was always dancing. Yet, if you were to look at his life was filled with suffering. He was getting very badly treated in the material world, but he was not reflecting on it. So many devotees, they knew in Chaitanya Leela that this personality has so many personal troubles coming to him. But he is not getting impacted by those personal troubles because, these personal troubles are like the traffic lights when we are driving on the road. If you're in a car, you see a red traffic light turns red, you stop. But Vakeshwar Pandit was in a plane. Srila Prabhupada, like he gives the example, he's in an airplane. He doesn't care what traffic lights the cars are stopping on. He was doing his duty, which is to engage in Sankirtan Yajna and helping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread Krishna consciousness. So even though his personal life was filled with agonizing pain, painful stories after stories, he was so happy that people would look forward to meet him. Now, in our movement also, we had some personalities like Jaidev Prabhu, who was the one who was responsible for the Rath Yatra, the San Francisco Rath Yatra. He was experiencing leukemia and he was getting big boils under his arms. His body was oozing blood. And he was getting some money from government for the Jainand Prabhu, sorry, yeah. And what happened was, whatever money he was getting from the government and from his taxi driving, cab driving, he was an educated engineer, but he decided to be a cab driver. And he was, for a moment, for some time, made the San Francisco Temple president by Srila Prabhupada as well because of his devotion and his service. And now many people became devotees just by seeing him pick up trash bags because he was so happy performing that service. People felt in this temple, someone who's picking up garbage is so happy. What about the devotees inside the temple? How much more happy the devotees would be inside the temple. And he had this amazing way of capturing attention and engaging others in Krishna service. He was using his cab to raise money for the temple, to engage everything. And he would also take devotees from one place to another using his cab. And many times he would be fixing his cab, he's under the cab, he's fixing it. And suddenly, as someone is passing by, he's like, can you pass me so and so? Give me this tool. The person would stop, hearing such a sweet way of somebody asking him. The person would say, is this what you're asking? Is this what you're asking? And they would give him the tool, and he would very nicely appreciate them. So much so they would wonder, and this person is an auto mechanic because that's what they saw his role to be, and a cab driver. But he's so sweet. Maybe next time, if I have to call a cab, I should call him. And they would take his number. Give me your number so that if I need a cab, I'll just call you and can you come over here? And he would always be eager to serve. He was not saying, oh, you are a non-devotee, I won't serve you, I'll only serve the devotees. He was in the service attitude. So we have to take examples for such exalted souls which have appeared in this current age, not so far off in Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Satyuga. They appeared in this current times we live in, and they, by their example, by their sweetness, by their completely overcoming all kind of atrocities in this material world, fully dedicated their lives to serving others, benefiting others. And automatically people turn around. Sooner or later they see what is genuine. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America, in the beginning he had very hard time, but he stayed genuine on his path. He said that Krishna has brought me here. I'm going to be his puppet. He's going to make me dance, and I will dance on his notes. And he continued on his path, and finally, the whole scene turned around. Tompkins Park, Srila Prabhupada is chanting, people are gathering, devotees are chanting, and the movement started a revolution. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Well, dear devotees, it looks like we're coming to the end of our katha for today. I will humbly pray before all of you Vaishnav devotees.
Krishna, Sade Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think, I don't know, maybe I did not properly understand the answer to this question. I
Okay.
think the question is that, can we leave our assets, material asset, talking of like a house, a vehicle, land, properties like that, to a son or daughter who is not Krishna conscious,
The answer was yes.
whom
The short
we
answer.
know that he's gratifying his senses? Can we leave access to this son for him to continue gratify his senses, which we know definitely that he's going to use this asset? I think this is the question that Sadhuja Prabhu asked.
Yes. So the answer, short answer is yes. Long answer is filled it so much with Krishna consciousness that these very material that you are using in Krishna service will become the doorway for him to come to Krishna. But let's take the example of Parikshit Maharaj. When he was told that in 7 days he will be killed by a snake bite, did he distribute his kingdom to the sages and to the Brahmanas? No, he did not. Sometimes that's the misapplication. Sometimes I have seen brahmacharis talk about that, such and such rich person came and started living in brahmachari ashram, but he gave all his property to his children and his family and his wife. Nothing for Krishna. In reality, Krishna, Ishavasya principle should be properly understood. Krishna has endowed us different facilities in doing the course of our life. And he has given us full independence how to use it. If we want to use it in Krishna service, nobody stops it. But we cannot criticize others for leaving it behind, because Parikshit Maharaj set the example. He did not distribute that to the devotees, his kingdom. He was the emperor of the world. He could have, but he did not. He said that he's showing by example that in reality, as per the ashram set in family life, ashram is setting that everything has to go to the next generation. So if you are following the ashram, the regulation of ashram, then we have to honor that code of ashram. So you have to pass it on to your son, your daughters, the next generation, while you can continue to engage in devotional service. Don't throw it away thinking that if they're going to spend it like that, so let me spend it, because that will spoil your spiritual progress. That will hamper your journey. You don't want to become, tit for tat is not the answer. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. Remember? Jesus said that and Gandhi repeated it. So should I leave access to non-devotee ears? So you can use it as Krishna's resources that fulfills your responsibilities, support devotional service, and is pleasing to Krishna, yes. Yet at the same time, and do it with so much Krishna consciousness and give them so much love, because the first thing that you have to give them is love. And that love is reflected by giving them Krishna consciousness. But that should be packaged like Vibhishan packaged Ram to Ravan. I can keep giving you so many examples from the Shastra. So we have to be intelligent as how we are passing it on. And you can definitely ask devotees we can have a brainstorming session, maybe the ways we can pass on things to our children that make them Krishna conscious more than we can by constant beating on them could. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a concern, because the last but one answer you gave was that when we contribute to family discussion like politics or anything of that sort can contaminate us, we can share reactions. And so the concern is that, when I leave any objects to people who are not Krishna conscious. You know, for instance, I have a house, and if I should leave my house to a son who is a drunkard, and then he will go there with his friends to go and abuse the place with drinks and smoke and things like that, the concern is that part of the reaction will come to me, wherever I may find myself. So that is the concern. So if you leave access to people who are not going to, you know, make a proper utilization of those assets, then we may also incur karma from, you know, badly or abusively using such articles.
Let me ask you this. You book a seat, say, where do you go? Like, which country do you visit? By air. You take an airline ticket.
Ghana,
Ghana.
mostly,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so you are taking a ticket, a round trip ticket from here to Ghana. You have received a non-stop flight from here to Ghana. You are sitting on that seat. You walked into the plane, you sat on that seat. That seat is for you to travel all the way to Ghana. You get off the plane. Are you worried about who's going to sit on that seat that you had from coming from US to Ghana? No.
No, I'm not worried, but
Right.
if I should leave, if I
Yeah.
leave the place
So don't worry
unclean,
about it. Just follow the code. The code of the ashram is it just comes to the next generation. And in reality, the first person who has full authority on whatever a man earns is the wife. Remember, house is graha, and wife is refers to a grahini, which means the owner of the house, the lady owner of the house. A man is known as grahastha. Grahastha means a person who is situated in the house, who is staying in the house. So as per the Shastra, a man never owns the house. The wife owns the house.
Oh my God.
So many times in Western world, I hear about husband and wife fighting over a house and making it 50-50. It is sinful to take wife's share. The house does not belong to the man, even though the man is paying for the mortgage, the man is maintaining the house, man is caring the house, because he's situated in the house, it's his duty to pay for the house. But the house always belongs to the wife. Because a wife makes it a home with love and care and affection. She actually makes it a home where a man can live. Otherwise, it's just bricks and wood and sticks, material things.
Well, Prabhuji, this is
Hare Krishna.
this is a Brahmastra weapon. Truth is truth. What can we do?
Yes, what can we do?
But thank you so much, Prabhuji. As Prabhuji was asking this question, I remember I actually put it in the chat room because you were helping us to understand that we should not take it the association, but we can give them. So in other words, we can give whatever we have to anyone, not taking. So that is the difference. I was thinking that Krishna is the master trickster. And if I'm lucky enough, I'm supposed to be the servants of the servant 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 of Shri Krishna. And I cannot talk to Krishna the way I would love to talk to him. So I am praying to all you devotees, and I'm thinking that Krishna didn't want me to say this. That is why he let certain things come across. But I still want to tell him this, that in all seriousness, I'm laughing and smiling, but this is very, very serious. It's something very serious on my heart. That if we all can go before Krishna and pray to Krishna, that whatever lessons he wants us to learn from going through what his pure devotees are going through, we have seen enough. We have seen enough. But talking about Vakreshwara Pandit, what he was going through, even Srila Prabhupada, what he went through, my own Gurudev, what he went through. Coming Monday is his disappearance day. That's why I'm speaking this way. Seeing Jayapataka Maharaj, what he's going through. What is Krishna trying to tell us? We have seen it. Please. I mean, I cannot speak to Krishna, but I am pleading with all devotees. Let us all go before Krishna and pray to Krishna that whatever lessons he wants us to learn, to understand the frivolity of this material world, everything we have will be gone. We own nothing. We've seen it in the lives of these great devotees. Please, enough is enough. It's too difficult sometimes, Prabhuji. Too difficult to see. Yes, Prabhuji, go ahead.
Today's verse is very important from that perspective, that preparation for purity is important before we take on any initiative. So we invite, newcomers who are interested in Krishna conscious. And there is a process, Srila Prabhupada said, that okay, for 6 months you chant minimum 16 rounds daily and follow 4 regulatory principles before you look for Harinam initiation. That was to finish all the prarabdha karma. If you look at the scriptures, it actually tells us that in those 6 months, all the prarabdha, means again, there is a bij, kuta, aprarabdha and prarabdha. There are 4 stages. The reactions of our actions of various lives are going to manifest us. And prarabdha is the one that is manifesting. And those reactions will immediately finish because the kuta, bij and aprarabdha, those seeds get fried when you're chanting the holy name. It's only the prarabdha one that is manifesting that gets destroyed because that gets fully satisfied. So in the beginning, when someone comes to Krishna consciousness, they suddenly feel all kind of animosity, all kind of reactions coming, all kind of sufferings happening. And they're like thinking, Krishna consciousness is very difficult. Let me just run away from here. But in reality, Krishna is doing them a favor by finishing their prarabdha, the reaction of their sinful activities that is about to manifest. Instead of having them to take many, many births. I gave this reference yesterday in the class as well, that when Abhimanyu was killed on the battlefield, you know how he was killed? The 6 warriors, they surrounded him. They first, disarmed him completely. And then a disarmed warrior should never be attacked. That's a Kshatriya code. And these 6 warriors, Karna was one of them, they cut him into thousands of pieces. And he was still alive. Imagine a person still alive crying out to Krishna. Krishna is his uncle who taught him how to fight, who was always, on the lap of Krishna, this young boy, Abhimanyu. He's son of Arjuna, the greatest of the Pandava warriors. He's son of Arjuna. This Abhimanyu is being killed. And when after the end of the day, Arjuna hears how his son Abhimanyu was killed, and all codes were violated, he immediately took a vow that he will kill Jayadratha, who was the cause of, who stopped the other Pandavas from entering the Chakravyuha after Abhimanyu. But Krishna said, but reflecting back, I am happy. Arjuna is shocked. Reflecting back, my son was killed in 1,000 pieces. But Krishna says, his prarabdha karma was so strong that he would have to take hundreds of births to suffer, as part of the reactions of his past sinful activities for so many births. Especially actually with just one sinful activity. That one sinful activity was, Abhimanyu was an incarnation of Soma. Soma is the moon god. And that one sinful activity was Soma fell in love lustfully with Tara. Tara happens to be the wife of his spiritual master Brihaspati. And so he abducted her, So it is also the 6 conditions where a man should be killed is one who, abducts someone's wife and who's, lusty towards spiritual masters or Brahmana's wife. So 3 of them were directly met in this case. So that prarabdha karma was nullified when Abhimanyu was killed, when he appeared as Abhimanyu and he was killed on the battlefield. So Krishna is reflecting back that he would have had to suffer for hundreds of births, continuous filled with suffering, to be able to, but in one shot, he was delivered for all that prarabdha, all that reaction, the manifested reactions of his sins. And he is able to situate himself, he was able to finish it. And that is great revelation, that when we take to devotional service, that initial 6 months, minimum 6 months, it could be 2 years, 3 years. In my case, it was 3 years. After 2 years of constant chanting, I approached my spiritual master. My spiritual master is like, I'm approaching on 9th and 10th is when he's supposed to be giving me Harinam initiation. He said, my Guru Maharaj said, you have to wait for 1 more year. Next year, I will give you initiation. Now, on 10th, many of my senior god brothers and all came to the temple thinking that I'll be getting initiated. And they were surprised that I was not getting initiated. But then they were more surprised that I was dancing the highest, because I had heard about Mukunda's pastime. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was fulfilling everyone's desire, Mukunda said, can you ask me when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will give his mercy to me? And so one of the devotees went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asked, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, he goes to the materialist and he glorifies all kind of demigods and all that stuff. So in 1,000,000 births, after 1,000,000 births, I will give him my mercy. So when Mukunda heard this, he started jumping with ecstasy. And Mahaprabhu, seeing his ecstasy, called him and gave him his mercy. I was not immediately looking for my initiation, but I was so happy that my spiritual master gave me an assurance that after a year, even though I was chanting for 2 years, that doesn't matter. That's the sunk cost. But a year more chanting will take care of all my prarabdha karma so that I can be qualified to get initiated. So I was so much chanting. Many of my god brothers, they came to me, and senior Vaishnavas, sadhus, they also came to me and said, if your spiritual master would see you dancing like this, he would have immediately come and give you initiation on the spot. But because they understood the mood I was in, I was like in ecstasy that next year I will get it. And many times I've seen right after that, some devotees, they became morose when my Gurudev said the same thing to them. And I was like, no, he's actually giving you assurance. He's giving you time to remove your prarabdha karma, because what happens at the time of initiation, he's taking all our remaining sins. That means we already had the chance to destroy all those sinful reactions. If we didn't do that, then we are passing on those sinful reactions to our spiritual master. And this is what we have seen in the case of so many Diksha Gurus, that they fall sick because those disciples they have not completely purified themselves. And so they're passing on those sins to the spiritual master, and the spiritual master becomes so sick, becomes so ill, and then they have to go through so many difficulties. So a lot of responsibility lies on the shoulder of aspiring disciples. Hare Krishna. Sorry if I offended anyone.
No offense at all. Thank you, but from your response and expanding on this indicates to me that you're not going to help me pray this prayer to Krishna.
If you don't mind, can I ask you one more thing? Just let me share something I shared with Kunti Mata. So Mother Kunti, she was serving His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj, and he was staying upstairs in the room. She went to him and said, Guru Maharaj, I want to have my karmas back. And he just smiled at me. She said to me, what do I take of this? She was asking me. I said, see, the thing is, why was he smiling? He said that, Kunti, you don't understand. When I took away those sinful reactions, I didn't leave your heart empty. I filled it with Krishna's grace. I filled it with Krishna's mercy. So your heart is full. And the heart that is full cannot be filled back with something. So that's why he was smiling. So that's what spiritual masters do. They don't just take away all the sinful reactions, but they also feel it. They give Krishna prema to us. It's just that we take time to realize it. We take time to understand it. Like you were saying, if Krishna is in front of me, Krishna is everywhere. He's omnipotent by his very feature. Shastras talk about Krishna goes even between the spaces between the atoms, expanding Ashura Dakshay Vishnu. So he's everywhere, but we fail to see him. So we can directly pray to Krishna being everywhere. Hare Krishna.
Well,
Sorry
Hare
if I offended anyone.
No, no, Prabhuji, no, not at all. But I still insist, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I still insist that, I 101% accept all what you're saying, the explanation. I accept them all. They're true. Mother Kunti is an eternal associate of Krishna. There is nothing she would do that is wrong. Vakreshwara Pandit is an eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya. There is nothing he would do that would be wrong. So many, even Sita, you talked about Shriram, Sita herself. If we look at all the troubles, the pains they had to go through, Srila Prabhupada, that I just can't. Srila Prabhupada, why would Krishna? That's what I'm saying, that they do not, those devotees who are going through this pain, these hardships, they don't care. They don't feel it. But to those of us who are standing outside, seeing that, it's too much. It's too much. That is what I'm trying to lead with Krishna, that they do not care. They love him, Krishna. They love Krishna. They're prepared to die for Krishna. But for me, standing outside, seeing somebody whom I have some love for going through that, is too much. That's all I'm saying. But I can't say anything to Krishna. Maybe some of you can.
Actually,
It's too much.
in Mahabharata, Yudhishthira Maharaj said this to Krishna. That Krishna, if non-devotees were to see our lives as Pandavas who are your eternal associates, nobody would want to become your devotee. He says directly to Krishna. And Krishna actually smiles back and responds it, saying that that is the test. Becoming Krishna conscious doesn't mean that we have overcome all responsibilities, that we have attained perfection. It's a journey that we have undertaken to purify ourselves so that we become qualified to go back home and have direct association of Krishna. Currently, we feel indirect association of Krishna. We know Krishna is everywhere, but we can't see them. Just like we know air is everywhere, we can breathe it, but we can't see it. So that association is what every living entity we are yearning for. And when we are serving our spiritual master, we are also yearning for that. And you are in that Vipralamba bhava. I can see that you are in that mode of separation, that mood. You're feeling the separation from your spiritual master. You're feeling the separation of that association that is so enlivening to the heart. I can see that in you, Prabhu. And so, Sadhu Prabhu, my request is that we have to look at it from the perspective that we have to seek our purification. We can't ask others to purify themselves. We can only seek to make ourselves better and be ready. And this verse is all about purification. That even to beget progeny, to beget children, these two personalities, they first purified themselves. And purification is not a one-shot thing. It's an everyday, every moment thing. It's a continuous journey. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dear devotees, we thank you all for your association. And We're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha and try to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace JIVA TATTVA Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all. And please, let's continue to pray for each other to remain at the lotus feet of Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
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 Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Svancha Kalpataribhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyavacha, Patitanam Pavanabhyavacha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All brothers, His Grace JIVA TATTVA Prabhu Ki Jai. All brothers, His Grace Prabhupada Ki Jai.